What's happening? This is Jun Tzu. Just Slabberin.
I told you.
What's happening? This is Jun Tzu, Just Slabberin. We're joined today by a very, very, very special guest. It's an absolute honour to have you on. This is an Irish legend, icon. He's a actor, screenwriter, documentary maker.
Blackguard,
Activist, legend.
bare knuckle fighter.
This is John Connors.
Come here, a fella said to me once, a fella was stalking me on Facebook. I wouldn't give me a home address, and then he got drunk one night. And he said, if it wasn't for LoveHate, you'd still be boxing in car parks. So I thought it was the funniest thing ever. He's probably right as well.
Well, so was that your first, LoveHate was your first acting?
No, I did King of the Travellers, a film called King of the Travellers, and then Stalker, and then LoveHate. But I technically did the first bit of LoveHate. It was more of a special extra role. Like, they were looking for tough-looking fellas in Darndale Boxing Club, which is like, you know, the worst kind of council state in Ireland for antisocial behaviour and all that stuff. So one of the trainers mentioned that, said John had done some acting classes and he's a film that's upcoming, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I've no interest in an extra, but your one said, if you come on the day, you might get a few lines, like. So when I landed on the day, I headed off with the director.
Yes.
The director's from London. I'm born in London.
Yeah.
The director used to drink in the Caledonian Road where I was born. And with a load of travellers as well, more than likely my father. So it just happens like that. And he goes, listen, there's a few lines, do you want them? I said, too right. And then I looked at the lines and I went like, I don't know about them lines, like, because I'm from the hood.
Yes.
So I'm like, He said, what would you say? And I went, blah, 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 blah. I'd say that. And I did it. And then when I did King of the Travellers or Stalker back to back, after that, in Galway Film Flat, the LoveHate writer came up to me. Yeah. And he said, you know them lines you improvised? And I went, yeah. He said, that fucking haunted me. He said, you bastard, you. Wow. He said, I'd love to get you back.
Wow.
And I said, okay, bring me back. And that was it, really.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now that's deep, brother, because that's one of the things that captivated me about LoveHate was the reality of it. It felt very real, you know, especially when you know the scene.
Absolutely.
You know, the script was incredibly well written, so it was good, the improvisation. But you were only in LoveHate at start then as like a cameo, weren't you? Like season 2, was it?
That's it.
And the pipe bomb maker. And that was it at first, and then you disappeared then again for a few seasons, don't you?
That's right, because Stuart Carlin was trying to find a way to bring me back. Now, you know, the plot now would appear so obvious, but you know, when it didn't exist, it didn't exist. So he's like, how do I bring him back? And then he went, hang on, that pipe bomb blew up. Do you want and it was like that. And then he met me and he was like, you know, there's this fella, I'm not going to say his name, but there's this fella, he's a traveller, and he's in the Ra, and he makes pipe bombs. Yeah. And he said, I kind of want to base your character on him. And I said, yeah, what's his name? And he said his name. And I went, yeah, that's a family member of mine. So I went, that'll be easy enough to do. I said, just get me a bulletproof vest. Yes. And I'll wear that in every scene, and that's the kind of style of the character.
So you were just acting out your cut, and it was pretty much easy to do. Brilliant.
You know, so...
Brilliant. But listen, I was going to have to put a disclaimer on this and say there's going to be some LoveHate and Cardboard Gangster spoilers in this podcast. So if you haven't watched LoveHate or you haven't watched Cardboard Gangsters, I'd advise you to turn this off and go and binge watch them. Binge watch LoveHate and watch Cardboard Gangsters and come back to this, because we're going to talk about them both. But I wanted to go right back first, my bro. Yeah. Because my dad's here today too. I said to my dad yesterday, you won't believe who I'm getting on the podcast. I'm getting John Connors. And my dad says, who's this? And I says, what are you here? And I read your Wikipedia page to him. Yeah. And he says, I have to come and meet this man. He sounds an inspiration. But I seen that it says you were a boxer and everything. I wanted to go right back in here. So you were born in London.
Yeah, a fact that my brothers won't let me forget, because they were both born in Dublin. But the reason why I was born there is because my mother and father were engaged, like lots of travellers had been engaged for 3 years or whatever. So they were engaged, and my father was a schizophrenic. And one night he hijacked a taxi and he crashed it into the wall. Right. And he got locked up and put on armed guard. Yeah. And my mother was like, fuck, like, you know, we're meant to get married and whatever. So she went in to visit him and she escaped him out the window and they went to England together, and that's why he was born in England. Basically, yeah. And then he did the time when he got back. But, so yeah, I was born in London. I think it was 11 months when I came back. Yeah. And then lived mostly around Coolock, North Dublin, like north side of Dublin. Yeah. You know? And you were born to a traveller family then? Yeah, well, I grew up in a camp, like, with maybe 70, 80 cousins in the camp.
Whoa.
52 first cousins, and then the rest 20 something second, third cousins.
No.
Aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends of the family. Like a reservation. There's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
And brilliant. Absolutely fucking loved it.
Of course, obviously. Like I said, you know, the tighter knit the community,
100%.
the more like you know you feel secure,
Fuck
loved. You know what I mean?
Well, the best thing about being a traveller is family. The worst thing about being a traveller is family. You know what I mean? So,
I can imagine.
Like, if I'm in trouble tomorrow morning, I literally will have 50 cousins at the door with fucking shotguns wanting to kill somebody for me.
Yes.
And that's great. But then I have to do it also. And then also travellers don't do appointments. You know, like, if someone comes to visit you in the camp, that's it. Like, you have to stop whatever you're doing, and you could be chatting until 12 o'clock that night.
Yes.
So, you know, if you have like a writing deadline or anything,
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
it.
you know, it's like you're fucked.
That.
Like,
yeah,
so,
you can forget
so yeah, there's great things about being a traveller. But look, I love the family, the culture stuff, and look, we're kind of survivalists. That's what we do. We survive. You know what I mean?
Of course.
We find a way of surviving, and we fight. And you know, Ireland is a boxing country. It's a great boxing country. We're top 10 in the world for the last 20 years. The Irish boxing team, right? So if you think about that, and every other country that's in the top 10 is at least Ireland's, at least 10 times the population of Ireland.
I know, of course.
So that's amazing. Now, when you consider the next factor I'm going to tell you, travellers make up 0.6% of the population of Ireland, but they make up sometimes up to 50% of the Irish champions.
What?
Yeah.
How much? 0.6%
of the population.
Wow. I would have thought it was more.
More Ukrainians in Ireland than travellers.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk about as well. So actually, I read on the Wikipedia page it said you were an activist. I was trying to find the documentary, couldn't find it. It's called John Connor's The Travellers.
Yeah, I did one, a three-parter. That was like about the history, the language, the culture, the relationship with the Irish state, the Irish Free State.
Yeah.
And then, that was kind of a big thing at the time. We helped to kind of push over the line ethnic status and all that. And then I did another one, I Am Traveller, another traveller documentary. So, and then I did another one in America, one about African Americans and one about Native Americans. And just using my kind of lens to it, do you know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
And that was a mad experience. Like, you know, you see, the discrimination over there is different, you know. With discrimination against travellers is like so widely accepted.
Yeah.
And it's casual. People could say whatever, pikey, knacker, or whatever. No one batted an eyelid. Over there, it's more concealed.
Yes.
You know, it's way more concealed, and it's more about segregation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
and even I was segregated in school, put in an all travellers class. Like,
Were you an all travellers class?
that was common for most travellers, for my generation, and up until like recently.
This is in Ireland.
Yeah.
And they put an all traveller. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that
100%. Yeah. So when I was over there, though, the level of violence, that was the scary thing. Like, I was on 79th Street in Chicago, which is like, Chicago's like the murder capital.
Yes.
And then 79th is the murder capital of Chicago. So I was there, and I was talked to a fella called Reggie, who showed me his friend's grave, or where his friend was shot. And then later on, he was shot then while we were on that trip, the same fella. Like,
No, the guy you were talking to.
yeah, it was a heavy experience over there. Like, I think it was something like 60 shootings every weekend or something like that.
Chicago's serious. That's where I think that's where drill music started.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, drill music started from Chicago, and it was Chirac. Yeah,
It was a mad experience for me, because I felt like the whitey. Which is a mad experience because I'm a traveller.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And you were the one who felt the like the discrimination.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but in America.
In there, I felt like the whitey. I'm a whitey, and they're looking at me like, you're the whitey.
Yes.
I'm explaining, I'm not the whitey.
Yeah,
you know
you've
what I
got
mean?
white privilege.
Like, but you would over there automatically. You know what I mean? But it was just a weird experience for me, because
I can imagine,
because you're used to being the discriminated.
Funny enough, they did actually say as well, like the Americas. You know, when the Americas settled there, they said that's where the white the Irishman became white.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and that's because up till then there was like Irish indentured servitude, but that's pretty much slavery. Yeah. It's just a nice name for slavery, but the Irish slaves were predominant back then, you know?
Yeah, I think the first slaves that were in America, I think it was 1616 in Virginia, were 500 Irish slaves or indentured servitude. They wasn't chattel slavery, obviously, like the African Americans, like the Africans who went over. But yeah, like, it's a fascinating fucking history. There is a book called When the Irish Became White. Sick. Because the Irish were nearly at the bottom of the kind of caste system over there at that time, and then, you know, they had the advantage of having white skin, so within one generation your accent is gone and you can move on up, and that's how they were able to move into you know, the police force over there to move into politics and essentially
yeah.
take over.
Landowners.
You know? And be cunts as well, like a lot of them.
Of course.
Like,
and they were, like you said, when they got that status, they decided to take it like nasty.
Yeah, or they're like, you know, shutting the door then, you know what I mean? No one else can come in. Like a lot of men, now, but a lot of Irish people over there were involved in good like movements and revolutions and whatnot, but there were some who enforced racism. And like, I mean, there was one case I read about where a bunch of Irish burned an orphanage, a black orphanage.
Yeah.
In like the 1860s, 70s in New York, like heavy stuff, man.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
And you can understand then the you know, and I know a lot of the NYPD are Irish as well, aren't they?
And a lot of them were
a lot of them are horrible racist bastards.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can understand in America. Yeah. That's what I always noticed. A lot of like American history, you can understand. You know what I mean, where it comes from. But when you look at Irish history, you know, it's just as bad that we're treated terribly.
Yeah.
But this is what I wanted to even ask about then. I didn't think. I know about Romany gypsies, you know, like Romany, but they're separate than like Irish travellers, aren't they? Yeah. So I thought Irish travellers, like for example, if we wanted to be Irish travellers, like, you know, we would just sell our house, get like, you know, and go and live like nomad. Yeah. You know what I mean? In like a caravan, but I didn't think there was an actual ethnicity. Yeah. I thought you were just Irish.
Yeah, so here's the thing with travellers. So basically 500 years ago, 2/3 of the Irish population everywhere travelled. That was the way. Yes. We were considered the wandering Irish to the whole world.
Yes.
And really it was only the aristocrats and wealthy people who were settled at that point. And if you go back another 500 years ago, everybody was nomadic in Ireland. Mm-hmm. We were one of the last nomadic people in Europe. But the thing was about being travelling, about being nomadic was what? You weren't settled in one place, and if you weren't settled in one place, you weren't paying taxes to king or queen.
Yes.
So one of the big motives actually was to settle. So there was like a 90-year period, 9-decade period, where there was a martial law, and essentially, then one of the main objectives was to settle the native Irish. These were like from the conscripts at the time, and it was just all about taking money off them. But if you were a sheriff, if you met an Irish person who had money on them, whatever, you were allowed to take 33% and send the rest to the monarchy. So that was the motive behind it. So what happened was the people who refused to settle, right, became what we now know as Irish travellers. And it's why ethnically we're different, because we married among each other instead among each other.
Yes.
So our bloodline stayed the same. Wow. Because we had the vehicle of nomadism to protect us from the outside world. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And when the penal laws came in and all, you know, religious ban, cultures ban, whatever, songs, all that stuff, Travers kept a lot of that going. You know, it's the reason why Irish traditional music exists today is because of Travers.
Wow.
Travers kept it going because we had that vehicle of nomadism.
Wow.
So we didn't have to abide by the same sort of laws, because we'd be into the town for 2 days and out, and we'd bring the music and bring the storytelling.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that's kind of the history of. That's why we're supposed in a way ethnically different. But there's like it's like the difference between, say, Icelandic people and Norwegian people.
I understand
in terms of the bloodline.
Yes, and like, so I suppose there's like. Is there like a number of families, and then because I remember even in Manchester,
I'd have cousins over there.
You had the McDonoughs, the Wards, the Kylies, the Joyces,
Dohertys,
and I knew them, and I tell you, you know what I loved about them too, because they were all, like you said, fierce fighters and all. Yeah. But anytime me and my brother went to get a smoke or anything off them, there was about 20 of them all stood there. I walked over when they heard our accent. He opened up the sack and says, "Give him extra." He says, "Us Irish look after each other." And I always thought, I always felt safe going to see the travellers.
And that's the kind of thing about travellers. Like, there's some there who were like kids now, 20 odd, who weren't born in Ireland. The parents weren't, and their grandparents weren't. Yeah. And they all have Irish accents. Of course. They don't lose the Irish accent. Yes. That's what I love.
And it's funny because they all have, and it's not even Irish. It is a traveller accent. It's like they all talk like that, you know. Even on the Manchester ones and all, you know.
Well, do you know what I think one of the things people don't understand about travellers? Every family has a different accent.
Yes, I can
Every
imagine.
single traveller family. Like, I grew up in a lane, right, where there was like essentially my family. I grew up in my mother's family, the Wards. So there's the Wards, there's McDonoughs, there's Joyces, there's Purcells, there's Mongans, there's Mahons, there's Collinses, and we're all like within 1 mile lane, right? And every family has a different accent. Every single family has a different accent.
It's probably because, like you said, you commune with the family and everyone. Because the truth is, I understand that, because funny enough, I always felt like I related with travellers more than anyone else. I've got Genghis Khan tattooed on my arm. He's the #1 nomad in the world.
He is, yeah.
And I loved it. I'll tell you what I love about nomadism, right? What I believe is what Genghis believed as well, he said cities make you weak. He said, and you think building a city and building walls around a place is a fortress. It's not a fortress, it's a prison.
I completely agree with that.
And if you think that this is your land, if you rip up the soil, replace it with concrete, build up big walls and say, this is my land, and you spend your whole life on that land, what happens when you die? The land's still there, so the land was never yours.
I know.
You were the land. You actually became prisoner to that land. Spent your whole life.
It's also unnatural, man. I mean, this is really only the last 100 years. You know, we're living in concrete jungles.
Yes.
I mean, that's not natural. That's not natural.
It's not humanity.
It's not humanity. Like, it really isn't. And you can see it in the ramifications of that in suicide, mental health problems, drug addiction, all that stuff. So, like, we're not meant to be fucking living in fucking concrete all the time. We're not.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know. And it's like when you look at the so-called help available for depression, it actually sends you insane.
Yeah.
You know, like I watched, speaking of series, did you watch that Blue Lights?
No.
So there was a new, it was interesting.
I heard it's good.
It could have been like, you could have imagined it in the same world as LoveHate.
Yeah.
And it's from the police perspective in Northern Ireland, you know, the Belfast police force. They asked me they wanted to play my Born in Belfast song in it.
Oh, I love that song.
I didn't get back to them in time.
That's one of the best Irish songs ever. I'm listening to that years. A friend of mine introduced me to your music, Kate from Hastings.
Right.
And she says, there's this fella from Belfast, this is about 10 or 12 years ago. She saw you live about 10, 12 years ago in Belfast. I said, there's this fella, big heavy fella, reminds me of you.
Yeah.
Right, this was, she said, kind of looks like you. That's what she said to me. She said, and he's fucking amazing. And I just started fucking eating up on your music, man. I'd be listening, like Paco, I introduced your music to Paco, to me brother, like.
Yeah.
I think you're one of the best, man. I think you're amazing. And that Born in Belfast was literally one of the, I was listening on the way up, like, for my nephews put it on, and you fucking loved it. I think it's one of the best Irish songs ever.
Thank you.
It really is, like, it's powerful. And the thing about you, man, you're an absolute fucking beast on the mic.
Yeah.
Like, you eat it up.
Yeah, of course, because it was all from it real.
And that's why I know you can act.
Yeah.
I know you could act.
Well, that's what I wanted to say to you.
I know you can act.
I could act. That's what I was talking about. I want to get... The first thing that I ever thought I wanted to act in was Shameless, because I lived in Manchester. I actually lived in the estate. I lived in the estate where Shameless was filmed, Gordon.
No way.
And it was filmed literally like 10-minute walk away from my house. So I always thought, remember the big Northern Irish family? I thought, I could be his fucking cousin or something. Turn up and say, hey, I'm Paddy's cousin there.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I was thinking about doing a Cardboard Gangster type of film up here. I think it'd be great. Like,
nah, we need to, bro.
Wouldn't it?
I would listen. Well,
we were only talking. Patrick was just saying to me, brother Patrick was just saying, you play a great fucking villain.
Yeah.
Like gangster, like in the hood, like.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like a real villain type, like.
100%.
Load of cunts behind you.
Of course. Well, you see this this Blue Lights. What I liked about it was, at first I was a bit sceptical of it. I thought, they're going to glorify the police and everything.
Yeah.
But they actually didn't. They actually showed, like, you know, the high, like...
Who's in that again?
Who was in it? Oh,
Is Marty McCann in it?
Your man from Game of Thrones is in it. Your man from Game of Thrones is in it, and there's a couple of good actors in it, like there is. And what I liked about it was most of them all keep you in, like, you'll see if I hear like a fake accent or something.
Yeah.
I can't, like you said, or even like a fake line, like you saying them fake. You had to improvise it
100%.
to make it real.
Yeah,
you know
100%.
what I'm saying?
Well, improv is where some of the most magical moments in cinema history comes from. Like you look at that. You talking to me in the mirror with De Niro, that was improvised.
Yes,
that stuff was improvised.
You talking to me,
because I think the thing about improv is you could improvise all day and you could be talking shite, you know, but something natural will come out. And just because your delivery has more conviction in it, also, it's worth kind of going through that. Now, a really smart improviser is someone who can listen really well, because what people think sometimes improv is just talking. It's not. It's listening and absorbing what they're giving you. Downloading that fucking information and going, oh, that could take us down a different direction. So it's called accepting gifts. So when they give you a gift, accept the gift. Don't ignore the gift out of your own narcissism so you want to talk. They're sending it down a different direction. Take the ball and run with the ball.
Roll with it.
You know what I mean? And then that's what magic comes from. Like, that's kind of Shane Meadows stuff and all that, Ken Loach kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
It's like reading the room. I remember when I was in Birmingham with my mate, and he was actually performing. I was his backup man, but the crowd, they weren't listening, and he was getting flustered then. And I thought, And they were all like a black crowd in Birmingham, and he was like from Manchester. They didn't like him, and I says, "Here, let me do something." I dropped the wee Irish bar. They all loved it. So you roll with it then. You know what I mean? You have to roll with what's been given to you.
You were living over there for years, were you?
We moved there originally in 1996.
Yeah, I've seen interviews. You did a few interviews over there or something. I think.
Loads of stuff over there.
Yeah.
Did
you like it?
Yeah, bro. Well, like I said, I experienced. I had a nationality complex then, you see. So when I lived in Ireland, when I lived in Belfast, everyone said I was British.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Britain, and everyone said, "You're Irish."
Yeah.
And my brother's nickname was Irish. And like I said, we met the Traveller boys and see all the English boys that were like, "Oh, we worry of them Travellers, they'll kick the shit out of you." Me and my brother went and met them, 20 of them, they loved us, and they said, "You see, you boys know." We always felt safe then with that community. Same then I went to school with all the black community, and they embraced me. So I became good friends with the black community, but see all the English, they despised me. And I kept on saying, "I'm British," and they're saying, "You're not British." So it left me with a nationality complex. In the end, we embraced being Irish then. We said, we are Irish, Like, even like the British passport. That's what I'd say to, like, Northern Irish people. Said it's interesting that you say you're British when your own passport tells you otherwise. It says the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
It's separate,
It's part of the UK, but it's not part of Great Britain. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nah, bro. So I didn't like that. So I embraced the Irish thing.
Irish,
and then the funny thing as well is, you see, growing up in England too, no one likes the monarchy or nothing. Like
the working class, a lot of them don't, especially in the north, don't they?
Yeah, like I mean, even down south, I know in London, in the capital, you see all the ghettos now. No one likes the Queen, or the king, or the king.
Do you know the thing about the monarchy? Like, I don't have my views at all. I'm a Republican. I'm a Republican fan. That's just me. But anybody can believe what you want. But the thing about the monarchy that I don't get is this: the kind of being loyal to the monarchy, or anybody thinking like that, is like, for me, forget about republicanism and unionism and all that stuff. I'm just thinking, how could you bow down to someone because of some birth privilege that goes back 1,000 years or whatever? Do you bow down to? They're better than you. No one is better than me, and I'm better than no one else.
100%.
But there's no way I'm bowing down to anybody, and I wouldn't bow down to fucking politicians in the south. I'm going after them cunts the whole time. But I mean, just if someone is by their birthright or privilege, they're better than you.
Yeah, and then even when you study into it as well, all that so-called birthright that could be taken, seized, taken over by different families. They were a German family. They were actually called the Saxon Dilgotha.
That's
or whatever
right.
they were called. And they changed their name
in
to
the
Windsor.
First World War, they changed it. Well, it's gas. I mean, they're one of the most, like, if you want to call them an institution or whatever, organisation, whatever, one of the worst in history.
Of course.
Along with the Catholic Church.
100%.
Which is probably even worse, the Catholic Church. I mean, they started so many wars. I mean, you had popes going back who were literally murderers and paedophiles and rapists.
Pope Borgia.
Like, I mean, they've more wealth than any other institution. They've more wealth than the monarchy. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just about not giving in to these, like, just cultural things that were brought up at. Like, I was brought up a Catholic, and I look at the organisation, them as the most corrupt organisation in the world. That's what the Catholic Church is. That's a fact. I've just made a film I directed which is about that, exactly that. My granny's probably going to kill me over it, but because she's staunch Catholic. But I had another grandfather who went to Letterfrack Industrial School, which is like the Alcatraz for industrial schools. The industrial school system that was set up, like, which, what they got away with there was like crimes against humanity, like in places like that. So I have that perspective as well. And you see what it happens, and you see the intergenerational trauma, and you see how it goes down the line unless someone stops it, unless someone goes, someone recognises the life script. Because if you don't, you can't do nothing to change yourself. You have to recognise that your script was fucking written by your parents, by the people who shaped you, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. Everybody around your environment wrote a script for you, and it's an expectation of you to go and be the hero of that journey and blah, blah, blah. But you're blind to what's happening in your life. Until you go, hang on, here's the family tree. What happened there? What happened there? All these things you're carrying, and you don't even know.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And these are the little impulses, these are little, what I call the self-destruct button. Sometimes you press that button and you don't know where it's coming from, but you're just going, I'm out. I'm gonna do something mad. That's me. I just go self-destruct now.
Of course.
And shit is going a bit too good for me now. I think I need to self-destruct. I don't deserve it. I'm ashamed. I hate myself. All this shit.
That's all the depression.
Man. And it's like all the trauma. And repressing it. Repressing all those emotions. I mean, you have to express, not repress. When you repress all that, it's like something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to talk about shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? All the stuff in the family and all that. And it's like, we're cunts in Ireland for our secrets. All the secrets. And it's probably why Freud said that fucking quote, you know, the Irish are fucking, what was it, impenetrable in terms of psychotherapy and all. And I think, you know, it was a bit of a joke, but it's probably a bit of truth to that. Because we're the land of secrets, we always hold secrets in, and it's about shame, and don't tell them that, and say nothing to them, and what would we look like to them?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
and there is a shame involved in it all, isn't there?
Yeah.
No, it's deep. Like I said, you know, back to that like blue lights thing, there was a part in it that I thought, whoa, I was shocked to put it in. There was a fella who's like just wanting some company, and then the police say, here, if you say you're suicidal, we have to go and take you and sit at the hospital with you for like 4 hours, 5 hours. And then he was like, okay, I feel suicidal, and she wanted off her shift or something. That was part of the storyline. But what I thought is like, wow, like look how fucked up. How is that going to help anyone who's saying they feel suicidal?
Yeah.
Like go and sit in the hospital waiting room for 6 hours, and then guess what happens after that? They tell you be okay if you need prescribed antidepressant tablets or something, send you back on your way. Yeah. There's like no real.
Well, sure, I remember bringing a family member into the emergency room who tried to commit suicide. Yeah. Stop saying commit because it's a fucking.
I've heard of that too, but that's what we said. I said that before. I know because there's. But I'll tell you this, brother. I think if one of my family killed themselves, brother, it is a sin. They've committed suicide because there was everyone else in there who loved it too. But I know they're coming from a horrible place.
Sure. But it also takes fucking massive bollocks to kill yourself.
Yeah, it's scary, brother.
Anybody killing themselves, I automatically respect that. In a dark way. Yeah. Because it takes fucking balls.
Yeah, they end
to that final thing, whether it's a rope, whether it's a gun or something to do that. Yeah. It takes bollocks.
But it also I think it takes more bollocks to just say, do you know whatever happens to me? Yeah, I'll tell you this is a real thing. I remember talking to my big brother, and I said to my brother, I'd never kill myself, bro. There's only one time I'd kill myself, and that's if I got raped. And you know what my brother said to me? Don't you ever say that, because what you're saying is then someone, like if 15 lads bust in the room now, like and pinned you down and raped you, that can happen to you. And you're saying then if that happened, you would go and take your own life. He says then that they have power over you. Nothing that anyone does would make me do that. And it gave me like goosebumps. I thought he's right.
That's the right attitude.
It sort of freed me. I thought I'm not afraid of anything because we're only here for a few years anyway.
100%.
So listen, you want to do whatever you're going to do it, and I'll crack on. Everyone around me can die. I will crack on until it's my time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that takes the more balls. That's the real shit. Because life's scary, and you have to just face it head on. That's why I said I don't care. Go to jail, do anything. You'll just stay focused.
Yeah.
You know?
No, life is so fucked up because you could be on top of the world one day and then you could be the bottom the next. Yeah. And you have to just get used to those ups and downs and know that it's not about being happy. This fucking bullshit of being happy or I have to be happy. And the fact that you have an expectation that I have to be happy means that you're going to be depressed because you're always not going to be happy. You just have to go, hang on, something bad happened here. I feel bad. Well, that makes sense. That's logical. Let me sit with this feeling bad and I'll be grand. Rather than, why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? You're just not going to be happy all the time.
Yes.
And anyway, if you were, then we wouldn't even know emotion. Because
you wouldn't know what happy is.
We just know what the fuck is happy then, like. You know what I mean? If it's just, all the time. Yeah. So, yeah, it's mad. You learn shit every day in life, and it's mad. Every year I kind of look back, and sometimes you look at an old fucking Facebook post I did or something, like, oh, Jesus Christ, I was a fucking idiot 2 years ago. Yeah. You don't realise it. It's mad, like.
Yeah, it's
how much you're constantly learning. Like.
Yeah, memories and all are fascinating. Yeah. You look back and all you think, but that's because all that was new as well back then too. And you're constantly progressing, you know, but it is interesting, bro. So I want to get back to your story. So when did you start? I read up you were a 4-time Irish champion.
3-time Irish boxing champion and 4 nation gold medalist, but I was in 5 finals in a row. And in the 4th, I self-sabotaged in the 4th. I was 13 points up with 3 seconds left against Stephen Ward, who's a professional.
Right.
Stephen Ward up here in Belfast, he's a professional.
Right.
And I beat him.
You beat him? Mike Tyson?
Yeah, but he's here.
You done a Tyson?
Yeah. Absolutely.
What happened? And why did you? And you were beating him?
Beating him by 13 points with 3 seconds left. Yeah.
What the fuck? What did he annoy you? What happened there?
No, it was a self-destruction button, man. I didn't realise it till years later. Really, I didn't realise.
How old were you when all this? Were you just young?
I was 15, 16 in that final, maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
Which disgusted me because I would have broke the club record. I had the I was drawed with my trainer, who was an Olympian. We both had 3 in a row each, and that would have smashed the record, like. And the next year I probably could have gone again, but yeah, man, I just beat him. At the time, I was just didn't really know why I did it. Like I was up. I was literally 3 seconds. Like, so I remember like hearing the last clap, where it's like you get the clap, that's 10 seconds, and I'm beating him handy, like, and then 3 seconds to go, just boom, took a lump out of my think, yeah.
And then what happened after that? Did you keep on fighting?
I just started crying.
Did you just start crying after it?
Yeah. I think I tried to bait one of the refs as well, and then I had to go up in front of the committee and all this bollocks. But then they still chose me to fight in Azerbaijan the month after, I think 2 months later, for Ireland in the same weight category, and I boxed a world champion. Who I didn't know was a world champion, thank fuck at the time. He was a fella by the name of Keith Tapia. He's a professional now, actually. And his uncle was Johnny Tapia, 3-weight world champion. And I boxed him, and I thought I'd go and bait this fella anyway. And goes into the ring, and I remember he hit me 2 punches that seemed like one punch. His hands were so fast.
Fuck
yeah. Was that 1 or 2?
You thought there was a crowd around you?
Oh, stop, man. It was insane. The speed was insane. Like, I never seen someone so just gifted, this fella. Like, he was half African-American, half Puerto Rican.
Right.
That's a good mix.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's a spicy mix, like, you know what I mean? And he was about 6'1" and super athletic, man.
Fuck's sake.
And I was like, oh my God, man, the speed of this man. He was using my head as a speedball. But what happened was, he was beating me. Oh jeez, he was beating me like, I think he was beating me by 14 points.
Right. At
one point, and if it goes 15 points, the 15-point rule.
Yes.
All the lads were shouting.
Oh, stop.
And I just then swung a big lucky left hook and did a bit of damage to them, and I kind of just stopped the stoppage from happening, do you get me?
Yes.
And I lasted the rounds. But he stopped everybody else in the whole competition.
Whoa.
But I continued on for a couple more years, and I was less dedicated. I started to do some nasty things outside on the street.
Yes.
Got involved in a lot of stuff. And had good times too.
Yeah,
and
of course.
discovered women, kebabs, Guinness.
Oh my goodness!
In that order, and so instead of like training all year round, then I'd only do a training camp.
Yeah.
So I'd go in 4 stone overweight, man. You know what I mean? And I'd have to lose 4 stone in 8 weeks. And then you walk in, you're going, I'm drained now.
Oh,
so my last few fights was just, I was a
you
shadow.
Were fighting yourself
I was
as well.
a shadow of my former self.
You were fighting yourself to be there.
Totally.
You were the biggest fights, trying to lose all the weight.
And then that's when I got into like bare knuckle. Well, I did a few bare knuckles during that anyway.
Yes.
I kind of got into bare knuckle fighting.
And is this family fighting?
Yeah, all family feuds.
And did you ever do any videos? I'm talking to you now.
No, never. that was before that culture kind of got in.
Oh,
that was the internet culture.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, thank fuck, man.
I know.
Thank fuck there's no videos of me kind of like that.
That would have been hilarious. All the lads I've seen.
Never live it down.
belters.
And once it goes up, that's it. It's up forever.
Of
like
course,
you're fucked. Like,
of course.
No, mine was just straight on fighting. That was it. Yeah, we saw a few fights, and
I've watched some of them fights. Now they're serious. But you know what I like about them too? It's all very dignified and controlled. And as I tell you what, in terms of real men and being culture, that's proper. Nowadays, they're like, I'll pull a knife on you, I'll see you when I see you. See all that shit, I hate that.
I know, I hate it.
Someone says that to me, then it's a threat upon your life.
100%.
But if you say, let's, like men, me and you, and we'll have a straight, and no biting, no nothing like this, no kicking or nothing, fists on fists. And when I watch them traveller fights, there's always a referee, and he keeps no hugging, nothing. They separate back at it now, and they 100%. Keep going. That's
well, you know, it's gas, man, because people who never really fought before just have this, like, you know, this reputation. He might be a tough man, and someone in their hood thinks they're a tough man. And I laugh at it, like, how can you be tough if you never had loads of fights, like, you know what I mean? But anyway, I remember this fella from Darndale who was like in the INLA, you know that group, the INLA.
Yes.
He slapped up a cousin of mine who was 14 years of age. And my cousin wouldn't say nothing because he was drinking and he was pissing up against the wall, and he didn't want his father to know. His father would have slapped him up. And anyway, they chased him and my brother, and 7 or 8 of them, all grown men, and they chased them. And my brother came to me, and I grabbed a hatchet, and I went after them, and then they all fucking fucked off. But then we went over to their house, me and my uncle, and then 5 kids. Well, everybody else was under 18. We went to their house door, and we'd like come out and open the gate and whatever, and we just, whatever happens, happens. And they wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
So we go back over to the Camp Lane, And I said, that's not going to be the end of that, because these were fellas who had reputations in the area, and we made a show of them in front of all the neighbours. So I said, they're going to be back over with a big crowd. And about 10 minutes later, about 40 fellas come over the hill. And I said to the lads, we need to go out and meet them in the field. They can't, let's not, psychologically, we can't allow them on our lane.
Of course.
As soon as they get on the lane, we're fucked.
Yes.
So we need to fucking really be bold there. So we met them on the field, and my uncle then did a kind of a negotiation almost in the middle of the field with the other fella, one of the fellas that was there, because he knew him from years ago. They were both kind of joyriding buddies. And in the middle of it all, this INLA fella, he shouted, you fucking knacker, to me. So I just ran straight into him and hit him a punch and knocked him out. And me and a load of kids basically beat 40 men who were all gangsters. And the key was, we all boxed, we all fought.
These were fighters. They were all big hard men.
These are all big muscle, you know, the big steadheads. They can't fight.
Yes.
But they think they're tough, like.
Yes.
How can you be good at something if you've never done it?
Of course.
So we ran them into the gully circle, we were slapping them up and all. It was like, and then all the guards and helicopters come down. It was a mad time, like. Yeah. But it was like, it's very simple. Like, you can't be good at something unless you do it.
Yes.
Regularly.
Of course.
That's everything. It's with rap, with acting, with everything.
Yeah.
You know?
What happened after that? Did you just have to try and sort it out?
Well, the guards asked us to do a negotiation. Now, to be fair, the guards were more on our side, because the fellas we were fighting were all heroin dealers.
Of course.
So they hated them.
Yes.
So for the first time ever, the guards were siding with Travers, which we couldn't believe it.
I'm telling
so
you.
They were negotiating a treaty. Like, there was 100 guard cars and then helicopters, like, in the middle of all this, like, because of who they were, we were going up against, you know what I mean? But what I always used to say to them in Darndale, like, the place where I grew up in Darndale, you can get by it no bother and have no trouble, no bother, as long as you have no integrity.
Yes.
But if you have integrity,
then you're fucked.
You're fucked, basically.
Yes, because they'll try and test you.
You have to stand your ground. I have to die, basically. They'll have to die. I'd rather die than be a coward. But the thing is about that, then, I always used to say to them, we go up against the gangsters and all in Darndale, I always used to say, you're a gang, we're family. You'll all rat on each other, you'll betray each other, you'll sneaky. We won't do any of that. That's why we'll outlast you. And that's why we got so many of those little deals done. You know, but...
Bro, I can relate with that fully, because I'll tell you this, like I said, I was born in Belfast, then we moved to Wales, then we lived in Wales for 2 years, then we moved to Manchester, then when we moved back here, we moved like 16 times in a year.
You are
so
a nomad.
I am a traveller.
Yeah, 100%.
But I always had my big brother. See, my big brother, and do you know what's funny? Say if someone started on me, I could easily go, relax, bro, I don't want to fight you. I would be more humble. See if someone started on my brother. Listen, I'll fight everybody. All of you can...
And you're all dead.
You're all... And that's what and Adam will tell you. That's what I'm telling you. My brother's like McGregor. He's a burner. He's a fighter. But he just look at me like, relax yourself, like, because it's different.
Oh man, it's way different, man.
And exactly, because when it comes to fight, I would die today for my brother. It says up until my wee daughter was born. Like, that's my guy. I die right now for my brother. Lay my life down 100%. Because it's like you said, and the funny thing is, of course, about growing up, they're sick. My dad's here, he knows, bloody noses, fighting constantly, you know what I mean? That's all we were doing. Constantly.
Is this the area you're from?
I was from, we were born in Rathcoole, which is like the biggest housing estate in Northern Ireland.
Oh, I know that one, And
that's
on the motorway, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can see the 4 big flats. And Bobby Sands was actually from there.
Really,
Bobby Sands used to play football with my dad.
Wasn't Bobby Sands' grandparents Protestant?
No, was he?
Mixed family.
Mixed family, so he was Protestant.
Well, look, all our greatest fucking Republicans were Protestant. Wolfe Tone and Robert Emmett and all those guys, Parnell and fucking Casement and all those.
This is what I've spent a lot of time trying to explain to people. The tag of Protestant and Catholic is nothing to do with the Troubles in Ireland. It's to do with British imperialism and then fighting against it.
Totally. You know? And look, that's worldwide. I mean, it's like, you know, it's all the European countries, all the dominant countries did it. Like France did it, Portugal did it, Spain, Belgium. Look at what King Leopold did in the Congo. You know King Leopold of Belgium?
Yeah, I've heard it.
So you know the way in the Congo and in some African nations today, there's a kind of a culture of cutting off limbs and stuff. Well, that descends from King Leopold, who was the Belgium king, and he killed 15 million Congo people in limbs and chopped them. Like, he did worse than what Hitler did. But the thing is, he did them to black people. So it wasn't as...
Yeah, it was never as popularised.
Let's be honest, it's, you know what I mean? And like, if the European countries just get back half the fucking wealthy stuff in Africa, Jesus Christ, Africa would have some wealth, and it still has wealth, and it's still being exploited. And still, like, there's this, you know, America versus China thing and going down in Africa now. How about you all fuck off and let them do what they want?
I know.
You know what I mean? It's mad. It's insanity.
It is.
It's history repeating itself, and it's colonisation just getting sharper and smarter. It, you know, and it's and in ways slavery.
Of course.
Like, because slavery, you don't need. Why would you need to, you know, put shackles on them now? And that's anywhere. Like, just give them a shitty fucking job that they're barely fucking surviving, you know, with no resources, and squeeze them. Why would you have to, you know, put them up in bed and board? You know what I mean?
That is the definition of slavery.
You know, so that's the new form.
This is a modern day slavery.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so like, man, all that stuff, man, the history is very important to learn about, because as they say, it's a cliche, but it always repeats itself, brother. So you need to know, and that's why I'm very suspicious of anything. I don't take anybody's word for this, that. I question power all the time, and I look at two sides to the story. What's two sides? What's the third story? You know what I mean? Because if you just listen to what you're told, you're going to be what Damien Dempsey says, you're going to be one of the sheeple.
Yes.
Because most people are sheeple. Like, they just go along with what they're being told.
What my big brother says. My big brother says, see whatever you see on the news, believe the opposite.
Yeah, 100%.
Believe the opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We play an opposite game. Whatever they tell us, the opposite must happen. You know what I mean?
That's a smart bet.
I'm telling you. It is indeed. So I can't get this out of my head as well then, bro. There'll be spoilers here for the Cardboard Gangsters. Did you write Cardboard Gangsters?
Yeah.
Right, I've got a bone to pick with you. I've got a... I watched it. So I binge watched, funny enough, I watched LoveHate when it first came out. Yeah. Loved it, bro. Obviously, it was like, I felt like, I'm not even going to lie, like, everyone from, like, all of my generation all watched it, all the lads. You with me? But when I watched it and I forgot about it then, and then funny enough, a few months ago, no, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was sat with my girlfriend and I said, have you ever watched LoveHate? And she went, never heard of it. So I said, I've never heard of it. So I pulled it up, got on season 1, and funny enough, I remembered that Nedge snaked on John Boy. And he becomes boss. That's all I remembered. Sure. Literally, that's all I remember, because I watched it like 10 years ago. So I put it on and it was like a new show to me. And I watched season 1, the 4 episodes, then I watched season 2, binge watched the whole thing. And then when you come on, it clicked as well. And thought, oh, he comes back into it later on. And it says, you know, and then, and I love Big Fran's like that. Nidji, I'm going to talk to him. He's the most peaceful pipe bomb maker I've ever met. No, you know. And you were. Your character was brilliant. You were such a lovely fella. Like, you didn't, why fuck with you? Exactly. You're just doing your thing. And it was so real, bro. So when I watched it with my girlfriend, it's that funny, because then it gets to season 5, and then, you know, when Siobhan starts snitching, what I thought to myself was and if it was written today, Siobhan would have survived, and they would have promoted the snitching. That's what I hear about American Gangster, Goodfellas. All these films promote snitches. I know, They fucking promote snitches.
But the only thing worse than them is paedophiles. That's what I'm taught where I grew up.
100%, brother.
You can't rap. Never.
The 3 Ps, bro. Paedophiles, politicians, police. Do you know what I mean? And rats.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
It's mad. I was over in New York and I was at a screening of something, and there was a bunch of Irish Americans and their wives and girlfriends and whatnot, and they were talking about one fella was talking about LoveHate, and he didn't recognise me, you know. And it was like, there's this show with LoveHate, it's like The Sopranos meet The Wire, it's fucking amazing. And then there's this Irish tinker that comes into it, and he's fucking, the kid who gets shot, and he's the most peaceful pipe bomb maker. And my missus, she's fucking, the Colombian, she fucking loves him, she's fucking in love with this dude. And the man who brought me over to the festival is just looking. And he said, look over there. And the man goes, yeah. Oh, the fucking tinker from LoveHate. And this Colombia, like, it's mad, like how far it went. Like, it just resonated with people. No, it did. Especially Irish communities, you know.
Well, it did, seriously. So listen, I was watching it then. This is the spoilers too. And then I was thinking to myself, Siobhan needs to get killed. Like, I was thinking, she's just scheming and all. You with me? Yeah. And then, like, even like your character as well. You really feel for him, because you're thinking why fuck with my man?
Yeah.
And you're bullying, you're trying to kill him. You're trying to kill this man who's got his wee son. And he wouldn't have never snitched.
Well, it was like the perfect setup for a character, because if you think about it, right, Nidge became iconic. He became an icon. Of
course.
And he was really a villain, but like all the great fucking anti-heroes.
A lovable villain.
A lovable villain. So to have people for to be a real conflict between me and him, people had to side with me, but they love Nidge. So how do you side with me? Okay, you have to kind of set up a moral code, which is this fella is not a rat, this fella doesn't want any trouble, this man only wants to look after his family, and you're bullying him, and no one likes a bully. So that was the setup. And then when I killed your man in the shed who set up the thing with my son, and I kill him and I knife him and whatever, what that whole scene was all about was I was thinking out loud to him. So I was like, I might kill you, I might not, essentially, but I'm in that moment, I don't even know if I'm going to kill him. And it's about murder being a big thing to him, because me and Stuart, the writer, talked about him, when he murders, it's not going to be just another murder. It has to be a big thing, because he's religious, and to take a life is a big thing to him. You know what I mean? So it said about a kind of weird code of ethics that the audience ran with then, you know what I mean?
Oh, bro, that was a heavy scene, especially when you says to the boy as well, you says, is this in the bunker you're talking about?
Yeah.
And you says to him as well, to take a man's life, it's no easy thing.
It's no easy thing.
We're going to be connected to each other forever. And
yeah.
Bro,
yeah.
it was powerful,
yeah.
really powerful, because you just felt,
yeah.
and it felt so gripping and real.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I loved about it. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. When I watched the last episode of season 5, next thing you run up the block there and King Nidge down and shoes at the end, and that's it, finished.
And we shot 3 endings for that. So no one knew outside the media team. I didn't know. None of the actors knew what it was going to be.
Yeah. But what were the other 2 endings?
So there was an ending where I shoot him, but he survives, and a fella shoots me from behind. His hitman just comes behind and shoots me.
Shoots you?
Yeah, shoots me, kills me. And then there was another one where I shoot him, and then I get shot and I get away. So they were the 3 options, like. Wow. But I knew it was going to be that. Yeah. I had a feeling. I was talking to the writer as well. He kind of had enough of the show, and I knew it was going to be me to kill him. Then, Yes.
So this is what I realised, right? So when I watched that, right, because I'm nervous, I forgot everything about it, and this is only a couple of weeks ago, and I'm watching the last episode, and then see when it finished, I just went, and I thought, best ending. It was like it felt like it's like Breaking Bad. It's as good as Breaking Bad because there's a start. Yeah. And you think it's all about Darren. Yeah. Next thing, he's wiped out.
I know, yeah.
Next thing, and then...
It was ruthless.
Exactly.
The show was ruthless.
It was a ruthless show.
Different leads. Like, there was 3 different leads. John Boy, Darren, Nidge.
Yes.
Yeah, it was mad.
Yes. And then, I seen there was going to be a season 6 of All About You.
Yeah, there was that, it was never really...
just rumours.
It got back to me eventually that there was a chance to do something like that, but by the time it got back to me, I was already in the middle of making Cardboard Gangsters and down that buzz and kind of wanting to do something different, and I wanted to do something of a street level, do something, and that was Cardboard Gangsters, where I'm from, and that, the house, my character's house is my house and was my house. And I want to do something like on that kind of level, not about the higher echelons. Just it counts as a gangster film.
Yes.
Actually, I consider Cardboard Gangsters to be of the hood film genre rather than a gangster film, because hood films have a political kind of edge to it. There's always a political backdrop, and like one of my favorite hood films ever actually is Paid in Full.
Obviously.
Paid in Full.
Obviously.
Now, Paid in Full would be an influence.
Yeah. And it's all based on true stories.
And Menace to Society would be an influence. And Boys in the Hood, like stylistically they're great, but they're a bit too preachy, both of them.
Yes.
Specifically Boys in the Hood. Still love them just because they're
Lawrence Fishburne,
they've so much fucking style and they're deadly, like.
Yes.
But Paid in Full is just is perfect, and there's no preaching, and it's brilliant acting, brilliant script, and you're really in that fucking world, and you have the mad character Cameron, which isn't unlike Dano in my film, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are all the archetypes of these kind of characters. It's it's like Mercutio in fucking Romeo and Juliet. That's what Dano is as well, So I wanted to do something of the hood film genre, and just set it in accounts as that. And we had a fucking ball. We met it in 15 days, and we lived together for 7 weeks. Me and the actors in my house, and that was fucking crazy. Like, that was
incredible.
Crazy.
It's like an Irish. It's like an Irish Dead Man's Shoes.
I like that film.
Was it Dead Man's Shoes?
Dead Man's Shoes, yeah.
Yes, remember
the
that
Shane
one?
Meadows film.
Yes,
yeah.
But like you said, there wasn't too much. You know, it was just gritty.
Gritty.
But this is what I don't understand. But so you wrote that, Cardboard Gangsters. Why the fuck? I have to say this to you, bro. What the fuck did you write that ending for? And I seen someone message saying, that ending haunts me to this day. What's going on in your head, bro? Why did you do that?
So why does he turn back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Obvious.
So for me now, right, and I never really said this before, what my thoughts are on this. Because sometimes you don't know what you write, and sometimes you don't know what you're doing and what it means. You know what I mean? You really don't. It's just, it is what it is. You can take what you take from it, I'll take what I take from it. But with that, for me, I felt that was like a part of the guilt and the shame, and it was almost like an unconscious suicide. That's what I felt. So I felt that those instincts to not go back to her and all that, or to go to her, sorry, were suicidal instincts, and they were clouding his judgment. That's where I got to it. So it was like almost a part of Jay goes, I think I deserve to die, but it's really deep down in this unconscious, down the iceberg. You know what I mean? That's what I felt. So then I went, because it's the classic, you know, gangster decides not to go back and then he gets killed and it's heat and all that, and you know what I mean? It's fucking, it's Aids with 30 Faces, it's all those old gangster films. It's the same sort of plot. So then you go, how do we make it, like, you tell, this story's been told a million times. Cardboard Gangsters been told a million. There was nothing original about the story.
Yeah, Carlito's Way type of thing.
Yeah, Carlito's Way as well. There's nothing original about the story. It's the same stories. You can only tell. There's only 7 stories that exist that you can tell. There's only 7. It's a thing. Like there's, and you fit into these 7 categories, no matter what kind of story, right? Like it's a rescue story, a hero story, whatever it is. There's only 7 stories you can tell.
Wow.
It's how you make it original, and you make it original by the style and the approach. So then you go, okay, he's going to come back. What will we see here? What we usually to get killed and it's a nice clean kill and blah blah blah. And I went, no, this has to be brutal. And I'm not going to get into how I know someone who was killed in that exact way. So I said I wanted it to be that way, the angle grinder and all that mad, like go really mad with it, but also give them a bit of hope, thinking, and then get them getting dragged there. And there's little influences, like I remember Casino when Pesci sees the brother getting beaten. And it's Pesci's perspective looking at the brother getting beaten, and you're going, if that was my brother, and they're just beating him, and the way fucking Scorsese did violence without cutting, do you know what I mean? And it's just bang, beating the body down, you're going, oh my God, that's bad. Yeah. So it's like trying to reach that level of kind of terror, you know, and then when he gets dragged to his death, you know, and then Jimmy, who was the villain in a Jimmy Smaller, I went out unconscious. He choked me unconscious, and the thing was, the lads there were like 17 stone lads. Damien Dempsey was there, Stephen Clinch, Patsy Carroll. They all had me held down, like for real held down. I couldn't give a sign, like I couldn't. So there was no sign. He's choking me, so I'm going, what? Like, and I'm going, I can't get out of this. Like, he's probably going to kill me here. That's what it felt like. Like I had to put makeup on my neck for the rest of the shoot because my neck was bruised, all blue and purple bruises like my neck. So when he just got there, I went, you know, when you're going, it's like you're high now, like I'm like, you know, losing, and I'm like, and then he just threw me into the hole, and I literally couldn't move, like. And the shot of me, ultra close up on my eye, was that one, because I was floating, like it was like sniffing glue or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so, and then I was in that hole for like 7 hours that day, and that's a weird experience, being in a hole like that for 7 hours, just psychologically. I couldn't shake it for weeks, like weeks to months.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was mad.
That was the thing I loved. I don't know what to mean. The cinematics of it, where you look into your eye and you see the plane, then you know, flying off.
And you know what? I actually was that the plane I think is lovely, but I actually was fighting the director for the plane. I didn't want the plane. I was just like, it's too cheesy, you know.
Yes.
And there is a bit of that, but at the same time, it's a nice payoff.
Yes. And listen, it might not be the plane.
Yeah.
There's a plane in the sky.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
planes fly past. But what it signifies is they're off.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it was a nice touch in the end, although I fought it all the way. But yeah.
I would have fought all the way of killing him. This is what I would have done, right?
Yeah.
And it says, and if you wanted to show that part of him going back and getting them cut up and all, like do it, and then even have like a, you know, like one of them where it's like a dream.
Yeah.
And then he goes, rewinds, and he stood back at the airport and he goes, fuck that.
So you know the dilemma I had. It's more about what kind of film do you want it to be. So do you want it to be another gangster film? Because if it's another gangster film, he gets on the plane and we do part 2 and 3.
Obviously, in
right?
Marbella.
But I'm from Darndale and I know people who were dragged off and killed like that and family members.
Yeah.
So my message wanted to be, you just don't come back from killing someone like that.
Yeah.
And when we killed the kid in the woods and all that, you don't come back for that, and you should not come back for that.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
But it was a wee shit though, bro.
I know, but still.
If anyone needed it.
But
it
still.
was that wee bastard. He was all entitled.
He was a little bastard, but what did he do?
I know, and that's true.
Yeah,
he stabbed your man in the neck. He stabbed your best mate.
Yeah, but still.
He stabbed your best mate like fucking Troy.
An eye for an eye.
Bro, yeah, well, I don't know. Listen, someone done a Troy on him. Remember Troy at the start of Troy?
Yeah.
He stabs him in the neck.
That's Ryan Lincoln who played that part. He's in Kin now. Did you see that new show?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard about it.
You're
watching Kin, or someo's watching Kin. One of my mates says it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've heard it's brilliant. Yeah.
I haven't seen Kin.
Lincoln is in there now, Ryan. Yeah, he's from Ballymun. And he was a rapper. He never acted before. And I just looked at him and went, you can act. And I brought him in for an audition, and he fucking killed it, and he's just flying ever since. He's been in some fucking Irish classic movies like that. He did Kiss and Candice, he did Michael Inside, Cardboard Gangsters, and one other one. All 5 of them won like IFTAs and awards all across the world. His first 5 films, so he's flying, and the lads were doing great.
What's your favourite Irish film of all time?
You know what? That could change in any given day.
Do you know what mine is?
My Left Foot is probably mine.
I don't think I've seen My Left Foot. I haven't seen it, I don't think. Mine's The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
Oh, it's fucking brilliant. It's a masterpiece.
But
you know what's funny about that is that it would take an Englishman to make that. Yeah. An Irish director wouldn't have made that.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have made it in that style.
Yeah.
Because they'd be all, we have to be fair and balanced and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
An Englishman came over and made it proper and rebel film, and showed the truth, It took an Englishman to do it. Ken Loach is a legend.
Have you ever seen any more of Ken Loach's work? Did you ever see that Lady Bird?
Oh, Lady Bird is amazing. My name is Joe is one of my favourite films ever. That he made that. My Name is Joe. Sweet 16 as well. He's a genius. Him and his collaboration with Paul Laverty, the Scottish fella, they've made some of the best films ever in that genre. Anyway, that social realist genre I love. He actually emailed me when it won the IFTA. Sent me a big nice email, and I was like, fucking hell, I'll email for Ken Loach. That was nice.
What did you win? I've seen that you won awards for Cardboard Gangsters, didn't you? Did you win awards for LoveHate too? So Best Supporting Actor or something?
I was nominated for LoveHate, never got it, and then for Cardboard Gangsters I got it.
Yeah.
But I did a speech that kind of went mad, like 8 million hits or something.
Yeah.
Because it was like...
I heard about it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to win because the IFTAs were sponsored by and kind of funded by Screen Ireland, who rejected our film. And then we went around the world and won Manchester, won fucking Newport Beach in LA. And this is despite them, then the biggest box office hit of the year in the cinema. Yeah. More than all Screen Ireland's films that year combined in the box office. And they rejected us and told us it wouldn't get outside of Dublin. This is what's made it so fucking good and so sweet. So then we got 6 IFTA nominations, which I'll be honest, I was actually raging because I thought we deserved way more. Because I looked at categories like original soundtrack. Our fucking soundtrack was all Irish hip hop. Why was it not nominated?
Bro, it was making me upset. I was upset I wasn't on it.
You should have been fucking on it. No. You should have been, yeah. We'll have to do one up here with you.
I want to, bro. Let's do it.
100%. We were only talking about it on the way up. So Paggy said to me, brother Paggy said, you'll probably win it if anybody wins it anyway. And I was smart enough to know if we get one, it's probably going to be me because I was on the festival circuit and I won a good few awards on the festival circuit with the film. So anyway, I won it, and then when I won it, I was going, what the fuck am I going to talk about? And your brain just goes 100 mile an hour, and I thought, Jesus, why mental health, my father, why I'm all this kind of stuff. And then I saw the table full of Screen Ireland cunts, and I went, I'm going to get them back. So then I went, I'd like to thank the funders, BAI, Film Base, Virgin Media, and Screen Ireland. Oh no, wait, they didn't fund us, and the crowd just goes, whoa. I said, what was it? We were too colloquial and we couldn't get outside of Dublin or whatever I said. And the whole crowd was laughing. And then, because I went like, look, 100% of nothing is nothing. Like, I got nothing off them anyway, so like, everybody else is afraid of them. Like, they're all afraid of these guns. because they keep funding all the friends. Like, so I went, I'm not going to lose nothing anyway. Like, actually, I'm in a better position after that. And then they had to answer to RT the next day. Had to go on RT 61 News and answer to why they didn't fund Cardboard Gangsters. I was like, yeah. And I was still up drinking, laughing my head off, looking at the news.
Militant shit, bro. I love it, bro. That's what I realised too. It's like there's the grittiness. One of my favourite scenes in Cardboard Gangsters is when you walk round to get the drugs back off the boy who stole it off your mate, and you just walked down and went, yo, me and you.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Let's have it. And I was like, it just seemed proper real.
That fella, Alan, he's a friend of mine, and his father was in it as well. Father was a good friend of mine as well, who died last year. But that fella was a real gangster, like high up. You're on the European scene. Yeah. He did like 8-9 years in jail, like. Yeah. So he knew the hood, like, you know. So you want cunts like that in it. Of course. Like, in all those smaller roles, you want cunts like that because it just gives it an authenticity. Like, you just can't buy some faces. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just get some cunt out of fucking drama school rocking up and going with the shoulders. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you know these impressions of gangsters, they're like caricatures of gangsters. Because, like, what a real gangster does is a real gangster has power and it's a still. Yes. They're not like all this, you know, like, no, why are you moving like that for, you fucking idiot? Yeah. I'll tell you what, brother, that scene of you in LoveHate, when you're just like you're just like Genghis Khan or something, staunch, when Nidji's like that's 10 grand, and listen, I don't have to give you that. You know, I don't have to give it to you all. You fuck me up and all, and you just go like that. You keep your money. Just calm as you like, cool as a cucumber, and you use that for a tombstone. That was one of the sickest shit. Well, do you know what? Sometimes you get the script right. You get a good script, and you just go, that's fucking deadly. That line is fucking deadly. Stop, you know?
Bro. I'm telling you this now, but like, see the series, right? Like series, I'd always say like Breaking Bad was probably one of the best series in history.
Sopranos for me is the
Sopranos is the number one, but I'll tell you this, brother.
Breaking Bad's probably 2.
I'll tell you what. Well, if Sopranos and Breaking Bad, I'm saying LoveHate, bro, number 3. LoveHate is special. 5 seasons.
We'll take that.
There's not one episode.
Yeah, not one bad episode.
That you think, you know, and they're all gripping. I'll tell you one thing I found funny. It's like season 2 or something. They just do a mad sex scene. It's about 5 minutes long. Darren and the mixed race guy. You see your titties and all that. I was thinking, that's what, like, I was random. I was thinking, are you going to have that more? That was it, just one random sex scene.
It's gas because we're in Irish film and television, we're very afraid of sex, you know. Yeah. Because the Irish are very conservative. And all our films, like, we don't put sex in it. Yeah. We're still so ashamed. Yeah. You know, my film I just done and directed, it went to Oldenburg Film Festival in Germany. We won Best Film, Best Actor. We were rejected by Screen Ireland as well. This one that I directed. And we're going to Hollywood with it now in a few weeks, and it's going to a festival over there. We're nominated for an award. Wow! But we have probably the most, I'd say, visceral sex scene ever in an Irish film for sure.
What's this, a porno you're making?
No. But do you know what it is? It's done in a French style. Right. And because the French are the opposite of the Irish, especially the way they make films, like our films are very repressed. Yes. And very kind of on the surface. Yeah. And French films are very expressive and all out emotion and colour. You know, so that's what I wanted. I wanted to make an Irish film in the French kind of style, you know. Yeah. So that'll be coming out soon.
Sick. What's that called?
The Black Guelph.
The Black Guelph.
So the Black Guelph were a group of people in ancient Rome that wanted to uphold the power of the Pope. They were Pope loyalists. Anyone who went against them were massacred or put away, like say Daniel the Great poet of Dante's Inferno. Virgil the poet. Yes. He was one of them who was banished. So the Pope loyalists, basically bad people in my opinion, and so what we were saying is Ireland, the state of Ireland, is the Black Guelph because it chose to protect the power of its institutions over the interests of its people. Wow. So it's set in a sort of gangland inner city, Dublin, in the flats, and you kind of set up like a gangster film. And you think you're watching a gangster film, but then you realise you're watching a film about intergenerational trauma and clerical abuse. Wow. And how we inherit trauma, because the lead character was abandoned by his father and he's suffering with depression and he's smashing heads in and doing coke and he's going on benders, but he can't handle the trauma, doesn't really know what's going on. So it's about going into the Irish psyche and that darkness and the stuff we're afraid of, the stuff that we sweep under the carpet and the stuff that is history. Which is like, you know, the last fucking Magdalen Laundry was like 1996 in Patrick and Sean McDermott Street in Dublin. 1996 they closed the last one. You know, the last industrial school was in the 80s. So this stuff is only all recent, you know, and we want to forget about it and like it's ancient history, it never happened. But no, I say we have to go into all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, because like you said, a lot of it, they're all like, they all like to try and protect it. It's all about protecting.
Yeah.
And the, you know, like damage control.
Absolutely.
Cover-ups.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, and like you said, shaming the boys and all, you with me?
Well, they just want the rest of the world to think we're fucking leprechauns and they like, you know, and come and visit Ireland. It's great and whatever. And Ireland is great and the Irish people are great, but we're also dark and we're also repressed. Yes. You know, and we also only really express ourselves when we're on substances. Yeah. You know what I mean? Then we start hugging each other. Give me a hug, bro. You know what I mean? That's the Irish for you. You know, and it's great because we have a lot of charm and charisma, and that we'll fool you. We'll fucking fool you, but we don't like going too deep. Oh, no. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You know, and it's all that shame and guilt and all that stuff. So we need to fucking get over ourselves.
Listen, John, I want to talk to you longer, but you're here for Mickey Conlon.
I am, yeah.
Well, listen, Mickey Conlon's my boy.
He's going to do it.
I know he's going to do it.
It's a tough one, though. I think he's going to go to hell and back. I think he's maybe going to have to fight like his brother Jamie in this one. Oh, you know, Jamie the Warrior.
Yes, of course.
I think it's going to be one of them ones where he's going to have to sustain a bit of you know, something's going to have to come at him. Like, I think he's going to have to maybe get up off the floor. I hope it's one of those kind of performances.
I do. I pray to God. I said I'm praying for him. He said he's going to come back and put his belt on the table.
Deadly.
That's what he said, bro. So, like I said, we'll have to wrap it up now. But listen, I want to give a big shout out to DJ K. I want to give a shout out to OJ and the Hot Box for sponsoring it today. And a big shout out to Buzz Lightyear, Potato, all of the lads. And listen, John, we need to get in a movie with you or a series. Let's do it. Belfast, LoveHate.
100%.
Let's do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're doing it next year.
Listen, we'll be doing it.
I'm often at these conversations with people, then all of a sudden I'm making a film with them a year later.
I'm telling you. That's it. I'm telling you. My brother. God bless my brother. Thank you so much. Respect, folks.